Greetings my friends, and welcome back to the channel. The Jedi Order was notoriously narrow-minded and staunchly adhered to the light, only permitting members of their order to use the Force in a certain way as dictated by doctrine as well as tradition. The old ways of the Jedi Order, maintaining balance between the light and the dark, has been lost to history and replaced by the current, overly cautious Jedi mindset. Fearing the worst, the Jedi High Council dictated that the will of the Force should be followed, and no one in their order should venture outside of which that has been sanctioned by the Jedi Council as permissible. However, while there were many tight constraints on what this was, and what was allowed and what was not allowed for the common knight to practice, there existed a few Force abilities that carried some loopholes within them, or perhaps weren't dark enough for the Council to deem it appropriate. Anyway, what we wanted to do today is look at 7 of these abilities that the Jedi were allowed to use but were questionable. Keep in mind that many of these on this list aren't completely dark side in nature, and may fall in a general gray area category, but they are questionable enough to raise a few eyebrows, especially pertaining to how strict the Jedi Order usually is about these things. To put it simply, we will be looking at a few permitted Force abilities that seemingly come into contrast with the Jedi Code, or at least how Jedi are usually commanded to act. So without further ado, let's begin, and let's break down 7 of the most questionable light side Force abilities permitted for use by the Jedi. Number 7, Force Stealth. Force Stealth, also known as Force Concealment, Suppression, or the Art of the Small, is the ability to reduce one's signature in the Force down to the size of an atom, effectively making it nearly impossible to detect their Force sensitivity, much less their alignment. This ability was most notably used by Chancellor Palpatine, who had mastered this ability to its highest degree to the point where he was able to sit in a room with nearly all of the members of the Jedi High Council while going completely undetected. Both Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious enjoyed the subtle thrill that came with standing within arm's reach of Jedi Masters without being caught or detected at all. This was considered for a while to be a dark side ability, but this decision was repealed at some point in time by the Jedi Council, as it benefited the Jedi Shadows and Sentinels that often needed to go undercover to extract and destroy dark side targets. The reason this feels a bit questionable for a Jedi to use is because secrecy is against the Jedi way, and very few Jedi are permitted to go undercover at all. As a peacekeeper in the galaxy, a Jedi wears their order's robes with pride in order to stand out in a crowd as a beacon of justice and hope. By strict regulation, a Jedi must have their lightsaber displayed on their belt and never obscured, as this was a symbol of the Jedi's authority and trust, a trust that they instilled within the people around them. The idea of hiding themselves within the realm of the Force seems counterintuitive to that message, but like we said, there were many scenarios where this ability came very handy for Jedi to continue to outlaw it entirely. Number 6, we have Force Bellow, not to be confused with Force Scream. This unique Force ability allowed the user to unleash a powerful surge of Force energy directly from their voice, which generated a wave of destructive power. Some Jedi have been noted as using a mild version of this to simply amplify the sound of their voice, as if they were speaking through a megaphone. However, the primary use of the ability is one of destruction. A master of this power has the capability to rend apart an entire room with their voice. We see this ability being used by the Ithorian Jedi Master Roran Korob during General Grievous's attack on Coruscant. The Jedi used this ability while trying to protect the Chancellor from Grievous himself. While it is undeniably effective, some might agree that such a power is a bit of an overkill. A Force Push, or perhaps even a Force Whirlwind, would achieve the same effect without the added risk of bursting the eardrums of the target or nearby allies. While I definitely don't believe that this ability risks the dark side or is inherently against the Jedi Code, it can be stated that Force Bellow seems to be a very drastic option for any Jedi to take, and is quite similar to Force Scream, perhaps too similar. Number 5, Force Combustion. A highly advanced feat of telekinesis, Force Combustion is the ability to make objects explode with nothing but the Force. It is made easier if the object in question is already flammable by nature, but it is certainly a shockingly powerful and destructive use of a Jedi's abilities. While we may say that Force Combustion is an excellent technique for distractions or blocking the paths of escaping enemies, Master Sabla Mandibu explicitly states the ability for being effective at injuring an entire room of enemies. Perhaps when when no other options are present or present themselves at the moment, an ability like this could be warranted. However, just like Force Bellow, it is a bit questionable to use the light side for such a destructive potential. Again, we are simply using this list to call out discrepancies in the way the Jedi teach the use of the Force. So now, let us move on to yet another. 4. Alter Environment. Finishing the category of destructive Force abilities on this list, we have Alter Environment, one of the most powerful light side abilities ever recorded. Alter Environment is the ability to use Force influence over the natural world. This can include directing a hailstorm, causing waves to crash against enemy fortresses, or even summoning a bolt of lightning. While you may think this power is only delegated to the Celestials or the Ones, you'd be wrong. Just like Force Combustion, this ability was one of those listed by the Jedi Sabla Mandabu in an advanced Force ability section in the book The Jedi Path. In this section, Anakin Skywalker comments on this ability, saying that he heard some masters can even pull down pillars of fire. For all of the Jedi's claims of usurping the will of the Force or flaunting their command over it, Alter Environment is an awe-inspiring display of what a Jedi master over the Force can really do. To me at least though, it seems a bit hypocritical to say that it's a Jedi duties not to use their connection to the Force as a way to command the universe around them, while at the same time simultaneously promoting abilities such as this. Number 3. Machu daru. Now we are getting into the powers in the Force that actually are dark side in nature, but the Jedi can use. While some of these may not seem as powerful as the ones listed above, this list is an order of questionability, and quite the questionable one is this Machu daru is actually a power which was created by the Sith. Machu daru gave the ability for one to bestow themselves understanding of a mechanical or technological piece of equipment such as a computer or a droid, and then to assert their command over it. Through Machu daru, mechanical structures could be bound to the will of a user and imbued with the power of the Force itself. This ability is how the technovirus was created in the first place, although not widely used in the Jedi Order and still considered to be one dark side in nature. A certain amount of Jedi technicians had access to learning Machu daru and were permitted to use it at their discretion. At number 2, we have the most famous Force ability on this list, and one that might surprise you is permitted for use in the Jedi Order. It certainly surprised me at Dun Mach. Another Sith-spawned ability, Dun Mach was far more of a dueling technique than anything else, and it falls into the category of Force-imbued psychological warfare. Frequenters of this channel will be quite familiar with Dun Mach, as it is a signature technique often employed by Count Dooku and Darth Vader. It commonly involves spoken taunts, jeers, and jests that expose their opponent's hidden inner weakness or doubts, which in the end had the result of eroding their opponent's will. This left opponents open to mental attacks during combat in order to strip one's concentration from the Force, making an opponent less precise and effective. While created and used primarily by Sith, there is no indication that the Jedi outlawed this practice. In fact, Dooku was practicing Dun Mach long before he ever left the Jedi Order. Of course, it is possible that this was permitted on the grounds that inverse Dun Mach existed. It was used by Luke Skywalker on Darth Vader aboard the second Death Star, in fact. The young Jedi attempted to turn Darth Vader to the light by reminding him that there was still good left in him and that he was still capable of love. It may have also been used by Revan on Bastila Shan aboard the Starforge to achieve the very same effect. Because of this loophole, both sides of Dun Mach were permitted for use by the Jedi, making it one of the most important Force abilities in all of Star Wars lore. And finally, at number 1, we perhaps have our most shocking inclusion at Force Injure. We put this at number 1 because I believe this actually goes directly against the Jedi teachings when using the Force against an opponent. For a while in the Jedi, it was even controversial to pick up an enemy and throw them with the Force as a Force push was, for a long time seen as one of the only acceptable uses of the Force over another living creature. Force push would soon be toppled by several highly more dangerous and volatile abilities. Oh, how far the Jedi have fallen. The Jedi preach to never use one's command over the Force to assert your will or power over another, and that you use your connection to the Force to serve. Mind tricks, Force slow, Morchiro, and Malacia aside, Jedi were mostly told to avoid using the Force against another being if they could help it. If that is so, then why under all reason is Force Injure allowed at the Jedi Order? To best describe what this ability does, here is how it is displayed in the Jedi Path. Alter abilities can be used to heal, but also to injure. Both are Jedi abilities, but the latter must be used sparingly, because the potential for abuse is great. Among the Sith, Force Injure was used without reservation to kill others from a great distance. Under no circumstances do the Jedi allow Force Choke, Force Crush, or anything similar on another being, Deadly Sight, Force Rend, or Memory Walk. But using the Force to literally just injure someone is apparently totally fine when used sparingly and is even considered a Jedi ability. Not one created by the Sith, but a Jedi ability. This discrepancy here is loud, my friends. And now, we see through the lies of the Jedi. But anyway, what do you think, Acolytes? Do you think that this list is a little bit too presumptive? Or do you agree that these abilities showcase the Jedi's lack of proper reasoning as to what and shouldn't be allowed when using the Force? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. And as always, students of the Force, I hope that you have a great day.